This week on From Mill to Still, I got the COVID. That's why we're keeping our distance, the zoom lens. Bree doesn't want to get anywhere near me. It's been a rough week, but we had a lot of stuff going on at the mill, so I'm just gonna get into it with you. We did a lot of stuff, and by we, I mean everybody else but me did a lot of stuff this week. It was pretty crazy. I guess it's all pretty crazy to me all the time, but we're one step into our structural repairs, installation of the jack posts. So we made temporary timbers. G&S Welding came out and welded all the steel together that we're gonna be jacking off of. We put jacks up at between every post. Starting first thing next week, we are gonna lift this building up around 3 inches and level it off, which is pretty gnarly. Once the building is lifted up, we will put temporary posts in. We'll cut all of the steel out of the way. We'll dig the old stacked stone footings out, pour a spread footing, put a new timber back in. After the footing cures, of course, the brick has to, or the concrete has to harden up. We'll put a new footing in and then a new post and capital. And then that's it for raising the first floor. I said that's it. We're looking at maybe 3 more weeks counting the footing curing. So stay tuned. That whole process, we're gonna document the mess out of it. It's pretty crazy. The beginning of jacking up the floor has happened this week. So you can see here the posts, and on the ground are the temporary posts that will be there once the floor is lifted. We're using 20 and 50-ton jacks to raise this floor up. So it's a lot of weight, and hopefully there'll be minimal creaking and cracking. Part of us lifting the floor means we're actually translating that lift into these posts on the second level and into the ceiling in the third floor, the roof of the structure. So as we pick up on the jacks, which will be mounted right here underneath us, we're actually gonna be lifting up that beam that's trying to raise these posts that are, 6 feet away from the jack. And that could cause the beam on the first level to just kind of snap. And what we've done up here with 3-ply 2x12s is we've strung all this down, creating a beam on either side and tying that beam to the post. Essentially doubling the size of the beam to spread that load out. So as we lift, we're lifting everything together and nothing is taking, extreme amounts of stress. Should work in theory. I don't know, the engineer told us to do it, so we're doing it. I think it's gonna be good. It's gonna work out really well. So yeah, on Monday we'll raise the floor up and there'll be people up here. I've set these string lines. They go down the posts and they go across. We'll have lasers everywhere. We'll time lapse the move and we'll measure, from this string down, we'll be able to see when the floor is level across, and we'll monitor it as it goes. There'll be a lot of bodies here just checking tape measures and stuff. So that's pretty exciting. Other than that, some other structural repairs that we did are not necessarily structural, but new construction items are the lintels were built. So G&S Welding came in, they used our old I-beams along with a steel plate underneath and made some very, very, very strong lintels to support our new loading dock door. Not necessarily the door, but the brick around it, and also support the double door at the rear of this building. So the structural lintels are going in next week. They have been fabricated this week, and the holes have mostly been cut for those lintels. The lintels are 15 feet on one and 17 foot 10 inches on the other. They're giant, they're made of I-beams and steel plates, so that's pretty cool. Not sure exactly how we're gonna lift that stuff up and get it in the hole, but that'll be exciting to get done. Progress has been made in the single story unit, the section. The boiler room and the machine shop are getting further and further towards completion. Ryan and Eric are almost done, pretty much done with the installation. So they're trimming it out right now and making sure they didn't miss anything. The punch items at the end, that always takes a long time, but they've gotten really good at insulating this ceiling. It's nice to see how they progressed over the last 3 weeks to where they're at now. They're professionals now, of course. I think everybody hopes they never have to do that again in their life, but that's insulated now, and that's really cool. The masons are in there. Arturo and Arnold are filling in that old doorway, so we could eventually put a door there to have private events in the conference room in that area. We've put a new plate in to secure the stopper bracket for the fire door. That will be reinstalled there. So we're just kind of like going over the finishing touches. Well, I don't want to say finishing touches. We've got a lot more to go, but we're finishing up the rough carpentry and masonry work that needs to happen in the machine shop and boiler room so that it can be the offices and the YouTube kitchen and stuff like that in the conference room when the project is done. So pretty excited to see upgrades and construction moving forward in that room. Really excited to see the retaining wall is built to its finished height now, and that's really cool. The top of this retaining wall is where you're gonna see our chiller sit. So the next steps for the retaining wall are to build a safety rail so people don't fall off of it. It is 10, 12 feet high, and to set a concrete pad on the back and then backfill all the way up to the machine shop and boiler room on the outside. We're gonna backfill all that, and it'll just really transform that space into usable space. I look back at our kayaking adventure video where we drive down that hill and now there's a giant wall in our way. We're gonna make other avenues to get down to the creek, but that area will be considered for work. As a distillery, we need to be able to access with forklift the outside of both ends of this building, and that'll be really cool. That's something we actually can't do with this current distillery. We can't get a forklift where the chiller is. Things that go back there have to be moved by hand, and that's gonna be a major upgrade in this new facility. Pause for leaf blower. It's really cool that this building has all its original fire doors. So there's a few fire aspects of this building that are just kind of a revolution in the textile industry, like the picking room being a separate building because it was more likely to catch on fire than the rest of the mill, so they made it separate. And then how they built fire doors back in the day versus how we're gonna have to rebuild fire doors now. That fire door for the conference room is a couple 100 pounds. It is a solid behemoth of a thing. We're gonna reinstall it, make it pretty is the wrong word, but make it look original, and then it'll function, you know, it'll be counterweighted, and people, I think, will get a kick out of that as they approach this windowless conference room that we're creating. Another cool project that I kind of got onto this week was we found an old cast iron sink, and this old sink, it was a weird looking sink. I don't even know where we're gonna put it, but I'm committed. It's like the one thing plumbing fixture that I didn't throw away in this building. And I got a couple quotes this week to refinish it, and they were crazy expensive. Like, everything's crazy expensive right now, but like the best price I got was 500 and change to do the work on the sink. So it's just another DIY. I'm gonna take this sink back to my house and I'll do a deep dive on how I fixed the damage on it and re-epoxy the sink back to new. So stay tuned for that. And then once we put that video up, maybe we'll link it somewhere, but that may be months down the road. The masons have also finished bricking in all the openings below the future slab. So now we can officially go back and have everything backfilled so that once the footings and the floor is moved, conventional construction companies can come in, like a plumber, an electrician, and do the underground work that goes in under a concrete slab. So that's a nice progress update right there. A quick update on the archaeological survey. It looks like we've been able to manipulate our parking lot so we're not building over that old house foundation, which means we may not have to do an archaeological survey out here. That's all TBD, we don't really know, but it gives me some optimism that this project might actually go all the way through. We might actually get funding, so it's not just us kind of DIYing it. We can bring some real contractors here and knock this project out. Stay tuned to see the results of what the archaeologist says about us moving the parking lot and where we go from there with SBA and conventional financing. Hopefully it'll all work out. And that's pretty much the week in review. Hope you liked the video. If you have any comments or questions, leave them below. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this project and where we're taking things. We're stoked to be able to take this building back to where it once was. And thank you so much for following along as we do it. Cheers, and we'll see you on the next one.